In today's fast-paced world, stress is no longer just an occasional visitor. It's a constant companion. You dread hearing the phone ring, checking your emails, or even hearing your boss's voice. Every morning, you dive headfirst into a mountain of work. Papers rustling, notifications pinging, your boss's voice echoing in your head. By the end of the day, your body is exhausted, but the stress doesn't stop. Even when you clock out, those sounds still linger in your mind, making it hard to unwind. But what if I told you this doesn't have to be your reality? What if the chaos and constant pressure could be managed? Even if you love your job, stress can still sneak in and take a toll on your health, your relationships, and your peace of mind. What you may not realize is that the way you're handling stress is affecting you deeply. But don't worry, I'm here to help you solve it. In this video, I'll walk you through powerful Stoic principles that will help you manage stress, regain control over your emotions, and find true peace amidst the chaos. You don't have to let stress rule your life. Stay with me, and I'll show you how Stoic practices can bring calm and focus to your everyday routine. If you're ready to take control and build inner peace, hit that like button, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and share your experiences in the comments below. Let's work together to overcome stress and live a calmer, more balanced life. Causes of stress. Have you ever wondered why, with the same workload, your colleague seems to handle the pressure with ease while you feel drained and overwhelmed? The answer often lies not only in the external demands, but in how we manage those demands internally. Stress doesn't come solely from the tasks we face. It's shaped by both the environment around us and our inner response to it. The external world, our job, the people we interact with, the expectations placed upon us, creates a constant pressure that we must navigate. The sheer volume of work, the conflicting demands, and the unclear performance expectations can easily become overwhelming. In Stoic philosophy, we are reminded that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, as Seneca once said. The stress we experience is often compounded by our fear of the unknown or our anxiety about meeting expectations that may never be clearly defined. Consider the pressure of constantly meeting deadlines, the never-ending stream of emails, and the endless meetings that seem to pile up. These external stresses can create an environment where it feels impossible to keep up. But it is not the work itself that causes the exhaustion. It is the interpretation we place on it. When we see each task as an insurmountable mountain, stress builds rapidly. But as Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The external factors, however daunting, are beyond our complete control. The demands of the workplace, the expectations of others, and the challenges of the environment are often inevitable. But how we react to them is entirely within our grasp. While the external world has its role in creating stress, the true challenge lies within us. How we choose to manage our time, our priorities, and our emotions dictates the level of stress we feel. If you find yourself constantly exhausted or stressed, it's worth examining your internal response. Are you taking on too much? Are you allowing yourself to be pulled in too many directions without considering your own well-being? A Stoic would say, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In this sense, the internal source of stress often lies in our failure to align our actions with what we can control. The tasks may be the same, but the difference is in how we face them. A colleague who thrives under pressure may have learned to manage not just their workload, but their emotional response to it. They know when to delegate, when to focus, and when to step back and recharge. Take the example of a workplace deadline. One person may view it as a challenge to overcome, while another sees it as an impossible burden. The same external pressure, but a vastly different internal experience. This is the power of Stoicism, the ability to control your inner world, regardless of external circumstances. By developing this mental resilience, we can shift our perspective and reduce the stress that often accompanies high demands. The impact of stress on health and work. Every morning, I can't leave without my headache medicine. By the time I reach the office, the weight of work settles in. Emails, meetings, and constant demands drain me. By the end of the day, I look around and see others, faces reflecting mine, tired, disconnected, and empty of energy. This is the harsh reality of stress. Impact on health. Stress, when unchecked, has a severe impact on our physical health. We push ourselves beyond our limits, constantly running on empty. Over time, this manifests in fatigue, headaches, and sleep disturbances. But it's not just a matter of being tired. Stress weakens the body's natural defenses. It makes us more vulnerable to illnesses, decreases our immune response, and can lead to chronic conditions like high blood pressure or even heart disease. The physical symptoms are often a reflection of the mind's turmoil. The more stressed we become, the more our bodies react. As Seneca aptly put it, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Stress, unchecked, steals both our time and vitality, leaving us physically worn down and emotionally drained. I have a colleague who, day after day, carries the weight of the office pressures on his shoulders. His routine starts with the early morning grind, answering emails, attending endless meetings, and juggling a stack of paperwork. By mid-morning, he's already nursing a stomachache. The stress from managing tight deadlines and unclear expectations seems to settle in his stomach, gnawing at him throughout the day. His face is tired, his eyes bloodshot, and his posture slumps from exhaustion. By evening, he's physically worn out, but even when he gets home, the stress lingers. It isn't just the job itself. It's the toll that constant stress takes on his body, causing him to struggle with health issues like acid reflux, headaches, and chronic fatigue. His body reacts to the pressure that his mind cannot escape, further contributing to his sense of helplessness. Impact on work. Stress doesn't just affect our health, it deeply influences our performance at work. When we are under stress, our capacity for clear thinking, decision-making, and creativity is diminished. What once felt like manageable tasks now seem overwhelming. Stress clouds our ability to focus and problem-solve, leading to mistakes, delays, and inefficiency. We often rush through tasks, trying to meet deadlines without fully engaging with the work at hand. This sense of urgency can lead to burnout, leaving us feeling disconnected from our work and less motivated. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, Marcus Aurelius reminds us. When stress controls our thoughts, it takes away our ability to engage meaningfully with our work, which in turn affects the quality of our output. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you found yourself working through tasks without truly focusing on them? Stress creates a constant state of reaction rather than proactive engagement. We become so overwhelmed by the pressure that we lose sight of the bigger picture, focusing only on getting through the day rather than truly excelling. In conclusion, stress affects both our physical health and work performance in profound ways. The constant toll on our bodies can lead to serious health consequences, while stress in the workplace diminishes our effectiveness and engagement. It's clear that stress, if not addressed, can quickly spiral, negatively impacting both our personal well-being and professional lives. How to manage stress. 1. Understanding the cause. Understanding the root causes of stress is the first step towards managing it effectively. Often we react to stress without fully grasping where it's coming from. To truly address stress, it's vital to look within and examine the factors that contribute to it. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery over stress begins with understanding what triggers it. One effective method for understanding the cause of stress is journaling. By writing down our thoughts and feelings every day, we can gain valuable insight into the underlying factors that drive our stress. For me, this simple practice has been incredibly revealing. I began journaling during times of high stress, recording not just the events of the day, but also my emotions, reactions, and physical sensations. The results were striking. I began to see patterns in my responses. Certain situations, such as tight deadlines or miscommunications at work, repeatedly triggered my stress. But it was not the events themselves that caused the stress. It was my reaction to them. This realization came as a powerful reminder of Stoic wisdom. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. By acknowledging that my reaction to the situation was within my control, I took the first step toward addressing the root cause of my stress. Through this practice, I discovered that many of the pressures I felt at work stemmed from expectations, both from others and myself. There were tasks I took on out of a sense of obligation, even when I knew I was overwhelmed. The more I reflected, the more I realized that a significant portion of my stress was self-imposed. This self-awareness, cultivated through journaling, allowed me to identify my triggers and confront them with clarity. For example, during one particularly stressful week, I wrote about my feelings of exhaustion after a series of back-to-back meetings. I recognized that my stress didn't just come from the volume of work, but from my fear of letting others down. This fear of disappointing colleagues or superiors was what made the work feel insurmountable. Once I understood this, I was able to take action. I began setting clearer boundaries, speaking up when my workload was unmanageable, and learning to delegate. By confronting the root of my stress, my fear of failure, I found the strength to address it directly. The Stoics believed in accepting what is outside our control and focusing only on what we can change. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By applying this wisdom, I was able to shift my focus from the overwhelming external demands to my internal response. Instead of allowing external pressures to dictate my emotions, I started taking ownership of my actions and reactions. The act of journaling helped me not only uncover the origins of my stress, but also gave me the tools to deal with it. Through reflection, I became more aware of my emotional responses and learned to manage them. The process wasn't easy, but it was transformative. It helped me identify where I could take control and where I needed to let go. In Stoic philosophy, the focus is always on self-mastery and discipline. By gaining insight into the sources of our stress, we can take proactive steps to reduce it. Understanding the root cause is the first step. Once we identify it, we can begin the work of transforming our response. This practice is not about eliminating stress completely, but learning to navigate it with resilience and grace. 2. Time management. To answer the question, why is it that your colleague handles the same workload with ease while you feel overwhelmed? One of the key reasons is that he knows how to manage his time effectively. The Stoic wisdom on time is simple, yet profound. Time is a river of passing events, and as soon as a man has passed, he is no more, and this river flows with an inexorable current. What makes the difference between those who seem to thrive under pressure and those who feel buried by it is often how they manage their time. Time is the one resource we all have in equal measure, yet some are able to navigate their tasks with a sense of control and calm, while others are constantly overwhelmed by it. The truth is, effective time management isn't about working harder or faster. It's about being intentional with your time and focusing on what truly matters. One way to start managing your time effectively is by prioritizing tasks. Not everything that demands your attention needs to be done immediately. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is in our control and let go of what we can't control. As Epictetus said, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When we can prioritize based on importance rather than urgency, we free ourselves from the stress of feeling like we're always running behind. For instance, consider a busy professional, overwhelmed by an ever-growing list of tasks. Instead of trying to do everything at once, they could begin by categorizing tasks into what needs immediate attention and what can be postponed. This not only reduces stress, but also ensures that we are investing our energy where it truly counts. Another valuable Stoic principle in time management is the idea of focusing on one task at a time. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When we focus on a single task without distraction, we not only complete it more efficiently, but we also find more satisfaction in the process. Multitasking, while often praised, only stretches us thin and diminishes the quality of our work. By dedicating time to one thing at a time, we can work with more focus and consequently feel less stressed. A personal example comes to mind. A few months ago, I found myself facing a series of tasks, all due at the same time. I had my usual morning meetings, multiple emails to respond to, and a large project with an impending deadline. Instead of scrambling to complete everything at once, I decided to implement a strategy I had learned through Stoicism. I broke down the tasks, set clear time blocks for each, and focused fully on one task at a time. As a result, I didn't just meet the deadlines, I completed each task with a clearer mind and less stress. This is where true Stoic time management lies. Not in attempting to control every second, but in applying intentional focus to what matters most. It's about being mindful and present in our work, without allowing external pressures to dictate our actions. One last piece of Stoic wisdom to help with time management is the practice of reflection. Taking a moment at the end of the day to reflect on how we spent our time can reveal how much we have wasted, but also show where we have made progress. As Marcus Aurelius advised, look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig. By looking inward and assessing how we use our time, we begin to see where adjustments can be made to live more purposefully with less stress. 3. Developing a healthy lifestyle. In the face of overwhelming stress, many people turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. The temptation to reach for a drink or lose oneself in unhealthy habits becomes stronger as the pressure builds. It seems like a quick escape, a way to numb the discomfort. Yet, these habits only add to the toll on our health. Stoicism teaches us that true peace and resilience come not from external distractions, but from building a strong, healthy foundation within ourselves. As Seneca wisely put it, a healthy mind in a healthy body is the path to true contentment. When we use substances like alcohol or junk food to cope with stress, we create a vicious cycle. In the short term, they may provide temporary relief, but they only mask the deeper issues. These habits affect our physical health, leading to a weakened immune system, poor sleep, and sluggish energy. Over time, these habits compound, creating more stress and ultimately worsening the very thing we sought to escape. Stoics knew the importance of moderation, and they understood that indulgence in excess only clouds the mind and harms the body. This was something I learned the hard way. During a particularly stressful time in my life, I found myself frequently reaching for alcohol after a long day at work. I felt like it helped take the edge off, allowing me to relax. But as the weeks went by, I noticed that I felt more exhausted, my mind was clouded, and I was losing my sense of clarity. My stress, which I thought was being alleviated, was only growing. It was not until I applied Stoic principles of self-control and moderation that I found a way to truly regain my balance. Instead of turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms, Stoicism teaches us to focus on developing habits that nurture both mind and body. One of the key practices in Stoic philosophy is self-discipline. This involves maintaining a balanced diet, exercising regularly, and making time for mindfulness. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Take care to be a good person, and you will do good things." Our actions are reflections of our inner state, and by taking care of our bodies, we create the foundation for peace and resilience in the face of stress. Adopting a healthy lifestyle doesn't have to be overwhelming. Begin with small, intentional changes. Replace unhealthy snacks with nutritious ones. Take a walk during your lunch break, and set aside time for meditation. These simple practices strengthen the body and mind, creating a buffer against the stress that life inevitably brings. A friend of mine, faced with increasing stress at work, found himself spiraling into unhealthy habits. His first step toward change was to acknowledge the destructive pattern. He started with something simple. He took 5 minutes every morning to meditate before heading to the office. Slowly, this practice began to clear his mind, reduce his anxiety, and help him focus on what truly mattered. His physical health improved as well. He swapped junk food for healthier meals and began walking during his lunch breaks. Over time, he felt more grounded and less affected by the pressures at work. This is the power of a Stoic approach to a healthy lifestyle. The mind that is anxious about the future is miserable. By focusing on our well-being today, we build resilience for the challenges ahead. Stress will always be part of life, but we can fortify ourselves with healthy habits that keep us strong, both physically and mentally. It's not enough to simply know what is good for us. We must also put it into practice. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of action. By taking deliberate steps toward improving our health, we free ourselves from the grip of stress. Meditation, regular exercise, and a balanced diet are just the starting point. True peace comes when we nurture ourselves, not as an escape from stress, but as a preparation to face it head-on with a clear mind and resilient spirit. 4. Setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is not just about creating space for ourselves, but prioritizing what truly matters in our work and personal lives. It's about recognizing that our time and energy are finite resources, and we must choose where to direct them with intention. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and ignorant." This humility in accepting our limitations is where the power to set boundaries begins. When we fail to establish boundaries, we risk losing control over our lives. This was something my colleague learned the hard way. He was always the first to say yes when someone asked for help. If a colleague needed assistance with a project or a task, he would drop everything to help, regardless of his own workload. He never once stopped to think about his own priorities. The result was inevitable. He became overwhelmed, exhausted, and frustrated as his own responsibilities piled up. His time was no longer his own, and stress became his constant companion. The Stoic principle of the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests can be applied here. By setting boundaries, we are not only preserving our well-being, but also taking control of our responsibilities. It's not about avoiding difficulty, but about learning where to focus our energy so we can handle the challenges that truly matter. One day, as deadlines were closing in, my colleague was asked once again to take on additional work. This time, he paused and remembered something important. The work he had already agreed to was more pressing. At that moment, he set a clear boundary, calmly explaining that he couldn't take on the task because of his current workload. This small act of assertiveness did not just protect his time, it allowed him to focus on his own tasks without feeling overwhelmed. This is where true strength lies, understanding that by saying no to others, we are not rejecting them, but protecting our own ability to function well and perform our duties effectively. Setting boundaries is a reflection of self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius stated, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." By setting boundaries, we protect our capacity to be the best version of ourselves, both for our work and those around us. Setting boundaries doesn't always require dramatic changes, but rather a shift in perspective. The first step is to clearly understand your priorities and what demands your time the most. The key is to assess where you can say yes and where you must say no. For instance, take a moment each day to evaluate your workload. Are you taking on tasks that align with your goals? Are you helping others at the expense of your own work? Setting boundaries is not just about refusing to take on additional tasks. It's about prioritizing your time for what matters most. When you say no, you're making room for the things that contribute to your growth, peace of mind, and well-being. 5. Building supportive relationships. In times of stress, we often feel isolated, as if we must carry the burden alone. Yet the Stoic philosophers recognize the importance of community and support. They didn't teach us to be detached from the world, but rather to engage with it in a way that nurtures our well-being. As Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Often, the weight of our stress is magnified by our isolation and internal struggles. The act of connecting with others, whether through a supportive colleague or a trusted friend, can help us reduce the burden of stress and regain a sense of peace. Building meaningful relationships at work or in our personal lives provides a critical buffer against stress. Having someone to share your thoughts, frustrations, or even simple victories with can make a world of difference. The connection and validation we receive from others often serve as a reminder that we are not alone in our challenges. This is not only beneficial for emotional well-being, but also for mental clarity. By sharing and seeking advice, we are better able to process our emotions and find the strength to continue. I recall a time when I was overwhelmed with multiple projects and tight deadlines. I felt like I was sinking, and the pressure only intensified. Then, I had a conversation with a colleague, a simple exchange where I shared my frustrations. Just talking about it and expressing my concerns allowed me to see things from a different perspective. That small connection made me realize that I wasn't alone, and that sharing the load, even verbally, lightened the mental weight I had been carrying. It wasn't a grand solution, but it helped. And that's the power of having someone to talk to. It reminds us that we are part of a community, not an island. The Stoics themselves were not against relationships. Rather, they taught us to approach them with balance and integrity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This reminder encourages us to recognize the value of relationships and the gift of human connection. It's not about seeking validation or approval from others. It's about engaging with those who support and understand us. This sense of connection can ground us in moments of uncertainty and stress. A simple yet powerful practice is to take time each day to connect with someone, a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. Sharing thoughts and emotions, or simply checking in, creates a sense of belonging. It opens the door for support when needed and reminds us that we do not have to carry the burden alone. We often fail to realize how much others care and how much we can help them as well. When we connect, we not only relieve our own stress, but also foster a compassionate and supportive environment. The beauty of this Stoic lesson lies in its simplicity. By allowing ourselves to connect, we gain strength. As Epictetus wisely said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Similarly, true emotional wealth doesn't come from bearing all the stress alone. It comes from learning to share our burdens and give our minds the space they need to rest. In conclusion, we have explored powerful Stoic principles that can help us manage stress and regain control of our emotions. From understanding the root causes of stress to prioritizing our time, setting boundaries, and building supportive relationships, each of these practices can significantly healing. Remember, this is not about achieving perfection, but about continuous practice. Each day presents an opportunity to apply these Stoic teachings, and over time, they will become second nature. Whether it's through journaling, time management, or simply reaching out to others for support, you can begin today to cultivate inner peace and emotional resilience. I encourage you to take these lessons and put them into action. Share your experiences, your challenges, and the victories you gain along the way in the comments below. Let's build a community of individuals committed to living with purpose and calm in the face of stress. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more wisdom on Stoic philosophy and how it can transform your life. I look forward to hearing your stories and discussing how we can all apply Stoic principles to our everyday lives.